Okay, and then this here is a video on how to change from this format. This is a hyperbola. How do we know that? Because of the denominator having an x, okay? How to change from this format to this format over here, okay? And why do we have to change from here to here is because from this format, it's very difficult to just figure out what our asymptotes are, to figure out or to use this graph and say if I'm shifting it left to right what exactly the values become and stuff like that. It becomes very difficult to use. Now to change from this format to this format, it requires a little bit of manipulation and a little bit of thinking ahead. Now what do I mean by that? Okay, I know that my denominator is still going to stay x minus 3. I need to figure out what my numerator is going to be such that I can split it up onto two denominators, well, each numerator and a separate denominator, and then from there I can cancel out the x minus 3. That's what I'm thinking ahead, right? What I'm aiming to do is I'm taking this 2 and I want to break it up in a certain way. Now let me show you what I mean. Now what I'm going to do on this side, let's do it in pencil, is basically like your thought process. Okay, obviously you can write it down on the side, but this is what you're basically thinking. So I have x minus 3 and I know that I want to take out from it 4. That's what I'm going to try and do so that this and this can cancel. That's what I'm going to do. You're going to see in the following steps, right? So if I go one step above this, it would have been 4x minus 12. That's what it would have been over x minus 3. But instead of me having 4x minus 12, I actually have 4x plus 2. So I need to use manipulation and get from negative 12 all the way back to 2. And that there is going to be negative 12 plus 14. If I have plus 14, I know that this here is going to give me, what is that? Positive 2. So I'm going to copy this part over here, and it's going to get copied over here. So this becomes 4x minus 12 plus 14. Sorry, it's really big numbers because I just picked in random numbers to explain this. Now I know for the next step, I'm taking out 4 from the first two numbers. So 4x minus 3 plus the 14 all over x minus 3. That's what I'm doing. Now we know that when we have fractions, okay, and they're onto the same, or they each on the same denominator, right? We can add the numerator. So obviously if that's the case, I can do the opposite from it. So I can make this term, this is one single term, x minus 3 over x minus 3, right, plus 14 over x minus 3. I can do that, right? Because what I was saying earlier, if they're on the same denominators, you add the numerators. So if you add in the numerators, you can put them over the same denominators. And then what I'm doing is I'm cancelling that, okay, because they're the same. And so I'm left with 4 plus 14 over x minus 3. From here, I'm just going to make sure I write it exactly in that format. So I have 14 over x minus 3, even though it is, but it's easier to look at it like this, plus 4. That's what y is. From here, I can ask you a whole bunch of questions. I can ask you what the asymptotes are. I can ask you to shift this graph left and right or up and down. I can then ask you what the axis of symmetry is. I can ask you a lot of things. I can ask you to sketch this. I can ask you a whole bunch of things. So make sure that you know how to change between the two different formats.